I was very used to a period every month. And I knew from the little, very small amount of sex education we had, you miss your period, you're pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
That's just it. And when I missed my period, I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Welcome to this week's episode of the Black Birth Stories podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tiffany Woodus, and I'm honored to bring this week's episode to you during Black Maternal Health Week 2025. That is a week-long event led by the Black Mamas Matter Alliance, and the goal is to raise awareness, activism, and community to focus on addressing disparities in Black maternal health. This week's theme is Healing Legacies, Strengthening Black Maternal Health Through Collective Action and Advocacy. And I really feel like that is the goal of this podcast. Each week, we amplify the voices of Black women and our unique birthing experiences to create a space for healing, for learning, and for empowerment. My guest this week is Miss Annie Allen, and she is my bonus mama. And I'm so thankful that she decided to share her time and her wisdom with us today. So thank you and welcome, Miss Annie.
Thank you for asking me. I feel like it's been so many years. My child is actually 50 years old, my oldest. And I think along with PTSD, I think my memory has faded some, but I'll do my best.
You got this. I'm confident that you got this. Let's get right into it. Can you take us back to the moment when you found out you were pregnant? What thoughts and emotions came rushing in?
Well, I guess a lot of emotions, as you can tell when I kind of think about it. I was very used to a period every month. And I knew from the little, very small amount of sex education we had, you miss your period, you're pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
That's just it. And when I missed my period, I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And those were the emotions that were there. I was not totally afraid, but I was scared in a sense that I didn't know what my next step would be.
The unknown, the uncertainty.
Yes.
What were the first few days like after you knew? Who did you tell first, and what did that moment feel like?
The first few days, I didn't tell anyone. I just kind of let it settle in myself because I'm a type of person that even as a child would try to figure things out on my own.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, I was not going to be alone in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
So the first person I told was the dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes. Did you encounter any unexpected challenges, either physically or emotionally, that surprised you during your pregnancy?
No, not really. I didn't look for any. I just assumed pregnancy was a normal part of life and everything would be okay. I didn't look for any danger signals.
Can you describe a time when you felt truly empowered or perhaps vulnerable during your pregnancy journey, and what helped you through that time?
Well, I felt sort of vulnerable when talking to a doctor. I just kind of went along with what they said. If the doctor said, I'll give you a pat on the back and say, you're fine, everything looks good, I just accepted that. And looking back and where I am now, I think there should be more questions asked or should have been, but I didn't because that was the type of medical staff that I had dealt with all my life.
Right.
Mhm.
It was very much a power situation.
Yes.
I'm just here to be told what to do, and I follow those instructions. I don't think we were at a place of being empowered to question things or, from people from position of authority, that type of thing. Yeah.
Right. And that position of authority, I think, was there
Right.
for sure.
What hopes and dreams did you start building for yourself and your little one as you carried them? Were there any specific wishes or promises that you made to yourself?
Well, I wanted to make sure that they had the best life they could have. As I think most mothers do. I wanted to be the best mother. I wanted my child to grow up to be the best kid, smartest kid, if they had dreams or aspirations in any way, for them to be able to fulfill those. And anything I could do to help them on that journey, I was willing to do.
Many moms worry about the unknowns. Were there any particular fears you felt during pregnancy, and how did you address them?
I didn't have any fears. Everything went normal. I guess ignorance is bliss. But when you don't know, I think now there's so much information out there that you can get lost in the information of what if this happened or this could be a problem. I didn't have that with my pregnancy. There was little known factors going on. So I just trusted the medical staff and I just moved on with it.
Move through faith.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. What was your experience with the healthcare system, and did you feel your concerns were heard? If not, what would you want others to know or change about that experience?
My experience, I did have an older doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a general practitioner at that time. They did everything from sore throats, bruises, delivered babies.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not available the night I went in the hospital. And that was a little scary.
Mm-hmm.
The staff just came and asked me, do you have another doctor you'd like to perform, the delivery? And all I could do was just think of the other two that were at that clinic, and I just chose one. And I think that was a little scary at the time, but I just put my faith in God. I was like, oh, they know what they're doing. I don't know. They do.
Right.
So let me just go on with it. But I think now a mother should ask more questions. I really do. And I think no question is a dumb question. I think at any time you think of a question, maybe between your visits, just write it down so that you may come in with a notebook, and you're a physician. So you know
Mm-hmm.
this, you probably look like, what is this notebook she's keeping? But I
Mm-hmm.
think it's very important to keep notes, to calm your fears, to have your
Exactly.
questions answered, because everyone can Google, you know,
Right.
medicine and deliveries, but to be in relationship with your physician is so important.
These are the worst mistakes Black women can make when choosing an OBGYN, assuming they'll automatically prioritize your safety, ignoring the signs when they dismiss your concerns, and not having a plan to advocate for yourself. Sis, I've been there, and that's why I'm so glad I found the Mocha Maternity Survival Guide, Choosing the Right OBGYN. This guide gave me everything I needed to avoid those mistakes, from conversation starters to tools for assessing their care. It's the ultimate roadmap to make sure you're seen, heard, and protected. Don't take chances with your health. Get your copy today and make the choice that could change everything.
It can already be such an intimidating situation to step
Yes.
into, scenario to step into. So it calms your nerves to approach it with a game plan, to have those
Yes.
notes written down, because in the moment, everything leaves your brain. You can't think. It's like one of those things. If you hadn't asked me, I would know, type of thing. So write it down. And then I also think it's helpful to bring somebody with you to help jog your memory, to remind you, you remember last week and you were complaining about X, Y, and Z. Why don't you ask them about that? Or just to prompt you and to
Yes.
help give you that sense of peace and comfort. I also tell people, when you come with your questions, realize that unfortunately we're operating under time constraints. And so
Right.
I might say to you, what are your top 3 concerns for today?
Right.
Let's see if we can address your top 3 concerns. And then, because I think all of your concerns are important, I don't want to do you a disservice by just breezing through things if I know I don't have adequate time to address them. So let's put a pin in those other things and plan on coming back at a later time to address those things. So I think that is so important, to have a plan, approach it with a plan so you can be, way more organized. Yeah,
So well, true.
absolutely.
And sometimes women may ask another mother what was
Hmm.
their experience, but every birth is different, every pregnancy is different, and so I will encourage everyone not to rely on just what their friends say or what the family says, but trust them and take it to the physician, the one that's trained to answer those questions.
Exactly, exactly. Community is important, though. Community definitely is important, and community can definitely hold our arms up when we're feeling vulnerable and we're feeling weak. And so I definitely do think that you should have the support and the advocacy that comes with community. But again, as you said, every pregnancy, and even every pregnancy you have, baby
Right.
one could be completely different from baby number 2. So you have to
Exactly.
remember that as well. But
Right.
definitely talk to your friends and family, find out what their experience was like. Even as you're trying to choose a physician or choose a midwife, did you feel seen? Did you feel heard? How was your experience? Would you recommend that person or that birthing
Yeah.
facility or that hospital to another mama coming behind you? That information can be so valuable.
Yes, that's true.
Absolutely. Was there a moment when you felt particularly empowered by something your provider or support team did for you?
Well, I think about when I went back for my checkup, and I took my baby to the checkup for the checkup. And the doctor, like I said, he was older. His nephew was there, and he was an internist.
Mm,
And he used different terminology. He connected with me in a different way than the senior doctor did. And I thought that was very empowering, so much that I changed to his service
mm,
for my next child. Because I just felt not that I did not like the older seasoned doctor, he was good, But I just thought, I'm going to try one that's just out of college, just out of medical school. I want the newest and the best,
Right.
going forward. So when you were saying have someone talk to you about choosing a physician or choosing the hospital or choosing the clinic, all of that plays a big part in your pregnancy because you want to be calm and feel that people hear you and they care about you.
Think about it. How many hands helped raise you? How many voices spoke life over you? How many arms held you close? Black family is deep, and at Melanin Maternity, we celebrate every single part of it. We're not just a shop for mamas. We're a love letter to the entire village. From keepsake birth announcements that honor your newest blessing, to new dad gifts, to presents for the grandma who still prays over you. We have gifts that tell your family's story. Looking for holiday gear that actually represents us? We got that too. Because whether you're the one having the baby or the one making sure the baby always has love, you deserve to be celebrated. Shop Melanin Maternity on Etsy today by visiting melaninmaternity.etsy.com. Because our families, our stories, and our legacies deserve the spotlight.
Absolutely. And your physician is one thing, but your physician is a part of a team. And so you want to, as best you can, see if you can gather and evaluate the members and the aspects of the team. Because I'm just one person, but just as you said, that person is human too. And that person may not be available. So then what's the backup plan? What does the facility look like? Ask those questions. Some patients will choose to go and tour their facility or maybe have a meeting with the backup provider so that the scariness of the unknowns and when it comes to those things are a little less prominent. Definitely think about all aspects of the team. And like you said, I think you bring up an important point, which is don't be afraid to ask for a second opinion. If you feel that perhaps you might connect better with another person, shared lived experiences are so important. Someone who is more relatable or easier to communicate with. And I think that's something not to ignore, because you don't want to leave your physician's appointment confused, still with questions unanswered. And even if you perhaps didn't get to all your questions, like we mentioned before, there's a plan to address them.
Yes.
So you're not out there to fend by yourself.
Yes,
So
that's
so important. Yes. How did you prepare for birth and motherhood? Were there any unique traditions, affirmations, or rituals that became important to you?
Not really. Family. I have a large family, so I understood babies. No rituals other than buying those baby clothes, having that layout ready for the baby, having the baby room ready, everything that you needed, for the baby. And I will say, my family, sister-in-laws, they provided all of that for me. They love shopping because this was the first new baby in the family for a while. So they purchased all that, and I did too. We probably had more baby clothes than they had for 18 years. They had them in a few months because that's what we do. But that was exciting. That was very exciting.
So your village was very important.
Yes, it was.
Your village we were not meant to do this by ourselves.
Yes.
We were not, and we need to activate that village. We need to activate those women, that support, whether it's helpful friends and family. It could be your spiritual support. It could be social workers, lactation consultants, mental health therapists, counselors. The village is so important. And I like to remind mamas about that because we forget that postpartum period, those first few weeks after you go home, can hit you like a ton of bricks, like can come out of nowhere. Like it's not something you've ever experienced before. And even if you have experienced another childbirth, you haven't experienced it like this. You're a different person. You're in a different situation. Your status has changed. You now might be a mom of one or two, and so each and every experience can be very different. So thinking about things like, how is sleep deprivation going to affect me? My hormones are going to be all over the place. Things are happening to my body that I've never experienced before and don't quite know what to do with. Your village your village can just be so important in just calming your nerves, keeping you grounded, giving you a break.
Yes.
A break, just uplifting your spirits and encouraging you. Meal trains, all of those types of things are so important in that postpartum period.
And I want to say my mother-in-law was one of those that was so kind to me. I think she could just look at me and say, "You need a break. Are you okay?" She just had that love for me in that way. And I always think about that because I don't think I could have made it by myself.
You need that person who can see through what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because as Black women, the answer is always, yes, I'm fine. No, you're not. You need somebody who can look at you and say, no, you're not.
That's right.
I'm coming over there, or I'm going to do this for you, or I'm on my way with a meal without you having to ask because I can hear that you're on the verge of tears. In your voice, I can hear it. You need
It's
those
so
people around
important.
you.
So important.
Absolutely. And let people help you. Let people help you.
Yes,
It doesn't have to be exactly the way you would get it done. But as long as everybody's safe and healthy, you're alive, the baby's alive, delegate and leave it alone. Walk away.
that's
Yeah.
right. We don't have to be super moms.
Mm-hmm.
Is the way we see it on TV. Just be yourself and
Exactly.
accept the help. Accept
Exactly.
the help.
Exactly. In what ways has this journey changed you? Looking back, what would you tell yourself at the very beginning of your pregnancies?
I would tell myself just trust God as I did and just lean on Him. It's a lot of people, it's going to be involved, but just make sure you trust God and just be in relationship with Him, and He'll bring you through that as He does with all things.
Amen. Yeah. Who was a constant source of support for you during pregnancy, and how did they make a difference?
I had some friends. I had a college friend, and she would just call just to check on me.
Mm.
And she was excited.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I just cannot believe it. I'm so excited for you. And she would just ask me what was going on with my body, how much weight. And it was just fun to talk to her. She was just like, she was outside of the group, but
Mm-hmm.
yes, she was the big part of the group. And I just appreciated her for that.
Going back to that village, that village
Yes,
is a common theme. Communication
yes,
and village, I feel like
it is.
so far would sum up kind of what communication, village, and faith.
Yes,
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure.
Looking back, what are some of the funniest or lightest moments from your pregnancy that still bring a smile?
Sometimes I would have cravings. And you see things like that on TV, but I
Mm-hmm.
remember just craving Doritos chips. I could start on a bag of Doritos, and before I know it, I've eaten a whole bag. It's just like, and then I want to, every time I shopped, I wanted to go get some Doritos. And then after that was over, it was over.
Mm.
But during that season, I don't know what, I wasn't that pregnant at the time, maybe 3 or 4 months, but I
Mm-hmm.
needed Doritos to save my life at the time.
That's so funny. That's so funny. How did you celebrate your growing family during pregnancy? Were there any special events or traditions you created along the way?
I can't think of any right now traditions other
Mm-hmm.
than, just being in community,
Mm-hmm.
sharing everything with everyone. First child is always the one, the firstborn is the one that everybody kind of dotes on. But then the
Mm-hmm.
second one comes, but the second one was just as huge to the family as the first
Mm-hmm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
And just being connected to letting the children be connected to their cousins, even at an early age, they knew their cousins, and during pregnancy, you were sharing that fact that, oh, a new cousin is coming, and everybody was excited about it. So the sibling was excited, and that excited everyone else.
So again, that theme of communication, faith, and village. Yes, yes. We have a tradition on this podcast where we leave a word of encouragement, an affirmation, something that will uplift the spirits of a mama coming behind us. If you follow my social media, I have a Dear Black Mama series, and it's just a one-liner, just something that will just kind of just inject into the spirit of the mama coming behind her to let her know you got this. Many have done this. An example would be, Dear Black Mama, your needs are not a burden. Or, Dear Black Mama, you were never asking the wrong questions. You were just asking the wrong providers. What advice would you give another mother just starting out on their own pregnancy journey, especially one who may be feeling a bit nervous or uncertain?
I would just tell them it's okay. Just trust in the Lord, and He will give you all you need to get through this pregnancy.
That sounds fantastic. You could not have said it better. Thank you so much for your time. This was such a pleasant conversation, and it will so bless another mother coming behind us. I'm so thankful for the time that you spent with us and your willingness to share your birthing experiences. I invite you all to join us for next week's episode, and thank you again to Miss Annie.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Want to go deeper? The conversation doesn't have to stop here. Join Melanin Maternity, our digital Black birth community, where you'll get expert guidance, real support, and a sisterhood that sees you. From live Q&As with birth experts to empowering discussions with other Black mamas, we've got you covered. Click the link in the description and step into the community you deserve.